Hello again and welcome to another Imperial Guard video. So today we will be revisiting what is now becoming very tired question, very tired complaint regarding Imperial Guard conscripts, because despite the fact that this is probably the deadest horse that has been flogged so many times that it is now just a bunch of mush on the ground, a lot of people online still, and a lot of people just in general that I meet in day to day, don't seem to really understand the problem with conscripts at the moment. Okay? And they're just there making blanket statements like the Imperial Guard are overpowered, conscripts are broken, conscripts are overpowered, they need to be nerfed, they need to be made more points, they need to be made so they can't take orders, which I think is the one that seems to be gaining the most traction. A lot of people are jumping on the conscripts shouldn't be able to receive orders bandwagon, and I think that's a big fucking no-no. Like, honestly, we've covered in detail, and in a previous video, I'm not going to go into it again, why it's absolutely fine and dandy for conscripts to accept orders, and why it's absolutely fine and dandy for them to work with commissars as well. Conscripts are not poorly trained soldiers. They are, in fact, just most of the time inexperienced soldiers. That's the majority of what conscripts are. People don't really seem to understand this. They don't really seem to understand the concept of what conscription is. And if you're looking for soldiers that shouldn't really be obeying orders, you should be looking at penal legions. That's all I want to say. I would be very happy for Games Workshop to bring back the penal legion squads and have them almost as a sidebar to conscripts. Something even lower than conscripts could be penal legion squads. Anyway, that would be cool. I mean, slightly off topic, but wouldn't it be cool if you could have a conscript mob where instead of them all having las rifles, every single one of them is armed with the equivalent of like a las pistol and a chainsaw, a bit like cultists, like where we'd basically get cultists. And the whole shtick behind them would be, well, you're getting lots of attacks in close combat, but you guys can't accept orders because they're fucking prisoners. You know, they're not trained soldiers. They are just pit prisoners. Yeah. Anyway, that's a different topic for a different day. Coming back to the whole conscript thing, though, people are really missing the ball here with the reason why conscripts are suddenly doing so well. Okay, and it's right in front of them, and they just don't. And it's what it is. It's a load of non-Imperial Guard players telling Imperial Guard players how they think conscripts should be nerfed. Let's be honest, the non-Imperial Guard players don't know how to play Imperial Guard. People like to lump Imperial Guard as a generic horde faction, but we're not. We have a lot of unique enough factors for us not to be a generic horde. Number one being, we are a horde of shooting, whereas most hordes in 40k are close combat hordes. That's the whole point of being a horde. So you have enough guys to get into combat to tear them to pieces. So anyway, what am I going on about? Because obviously I'm bullshitting and complaining about them complaining. Well, unlike them, I actually have the perfect solution. And it is the perfect solution. It's staring us in the face. It's a solution that was already present before 8th, and I think it should be brought back. And I think it's a solution which pretty much every Imperial Guard player out there would get behind, which is bring back platoons. That's as simple as it gets. Do not change anything else about the Imperial Guard, just bring back platoons. Bringing back platoons for conscripts, bringing back platoons in general solves a lot of the complaints around the Imperial Guard. The reason why conscripts never used to be complained about, because we've always had conscripts for 3 points a model. This is what I don't really understand. This is what a lot of people don't really understand, I should say, is we've always been able to bring conscripts 3 points a model. Always. There's nothing new there. Conscripts haven't changed. But the problem is that they are so cheap And now in 8th edition, they can wound anything. The thing is that you need to be able... They are maybe a little bit too cheap, but the way that Games Workshop got around this in the past was by saying, well, you can only take them as part of a platoon. And the reason why that was such a popular... the reason why that worked is because, yeah, you're still only paying 3 points per model, but before you can even get to that point, you've got to pay for your 2 infantry squads, your command squad, and your officer. And that meant that, you know, back in the day, you had to spend 130 points of a tax before you could even get access to the conscripts. Bring that back. If you're making it where you have to take 130 points, you know, or in this case, 2 infantry squads and an officer, so 100 points. If you have to take 100 points worth of tax before you can even take conscripts, that essentially adds on 1 point per model, 2 points per model. And it means you get a lot more variety in armies as well. You no longer just see blobs of conscripts backed up by deep striking scions. You no longer see that. I don't even really need to go into it too much. Bringing back platoons means that conscripts are still the same as they always were, but now you have to take a tax to get them. And it's a tax that the majority of proper non-bandwagon Imperial Guard players will be happy to pay. That's the thing. You will not get any complaints from proper Imperial Guard players. People that go out there and just, you know, are playing Imperial Guard because they know if they spam 150 conscripts and 50 scions that they're going to win games. They're not, you know, they didn't even have an Imperial Guard army until 6 months ago. They're not really proper Imperial Guard players. We all know that. We all know that. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying they've jumped on the bandwagon. I'm sure a lot of you guys listening to this video today will look around and go, there are a lot of new Imperial Guard players in the area. There are. And it creates a variety of units, so you're not just seeing conscripts and scions. And it's more fluffy, and it's something that Imperial Guard players have been crying to come back for a long time. They want platoons back. And I just think it just works on every front. I mean, I can't think of a disadvantage to bring for in terms of game balance. Conscripts get balanced, forces players to use infantry squads, which are still good, but it means that the order efficiency for orders is now watered down, because a big complaint a lot of people have is you can take one officer for one company commander for 2 squads of conscripts. Well, guess what? If you're forced to take a platoon and have your junior officer, that means you've got one officer that can only issue 1 unit around. And if you want to be able to issue orders to more units in that platoon, you've got to go and buy a senior officer, which means that's another 30 points you've got to spend on top of the conscripts. Also, the reason it works, again, is it forces people to use junior officers. I myself do not really use junior officers unless I absolutely have to. I just take company commanders, and when you think about it, that's kind of wrong. You shouldn't be able to just have entire armies of company commanders running around. You know, why would a bunch of majors and colonels be ordering around a load of conscripts? Doesn't really make sense. Doesn't really reflect the chain of command, does it? Something that the Imperial Guard is famous for. So it forces people to use, it forces people to use different officers, which is great. It forces people to bring command squads as well. A lot of people don't bother taking command squads outside of the Tempesta Scion command squads. Well, guess what? Now you're going to be forced to take them, and you're going to have to learn how to use them. And they're still going to be good, because what have we covered in the Imperial? What have we covered in all those reviews that I did at the beginning of 8th edition? There's no really bad unit choice in the Imperial Guard. So forcing players to take these additional units isn't going to cripple them. Isn't going to make the army any worse. It won't make the army any worse. It'll just make the army have to play differently and will discourage spam play. I think a lot of Imperial Guard players out there, I myself included, we sort of, when we first heard about, oh, you can take loads of conscripts, I think we all did. We took a lot of conscripts, but I think a lot of us have come back to taking platoons, even when we're not really required to do so. I built a 2,000 point list of pure infantry. By the way, guys, I'm going back to my pure infantry roots. I've had my fun with the tanks. Need to go back to what makes me an Imperial Guard commander, using my foot guard. The 50th Mordian Rifles will march again, is all I'm going to say. But I came up with, I wasn't required to use platoons in the 2,000 point list that I came up with, but I did. I chose to use platoons. I chose to take command squads. I chose to take heavy weapon squads. I chose to take special weapon squads. And my 2,000 point list, which is fluffy, it's got a mixture of units. It's got Lord Commissars, regular Commissars, senior officers, junior officers, command squads, infantry squads, heavy weapon squads. It's got a big mix. It's 2,000 points. I'm running 288 guys. That's insane. That's basically 300. Majority of which are infantry squads. Only 100 of which are conscripts. I've got 100 conscripts, 120 infantry regulars, and the rest is made up of support teams. And that kind of works as well, and this is all to do with bringing platoons back, balancing conscripts, forcing people to take units they wouldn't normally want to take, forcing them to take taxes, forcing them to become better players, bringing back the Imperial Guard's flavour. I have to say, I really miss platoons. After the initial sort of honeymoon period with the new Imperial Guard book, when I want to take a battalion, not brigade, I want to take the smaller one, I find myself going, well, I'll take 4 infantry squads, and then I go, oh, that's like nearly all my troop choice is gone already. I want to be able to take platoons, and I think in return there should be an additional troop choice. There should be more troop choices made. There should be penal legion squads and stuff like that. But anyway, my point is that I've sort of gone round and round in circles. I think all you guys agree with me that bringing platoons back would make Imperial Guard more unique again. It would appease the long-time fans. It would discourage the power gamers. It would balance the conscripts. It would balance company commanders versus platoon commanders. It would force people to use normal command squads and not just company command squad, Militarum Tempestus command squads. And it would water down the effectiveness of being able to spam officers and spam orders and spam conscripts. And I think the same logic could be applied to Tempestus Scions. I think the problem that people have at the moment with Tempestus Scions is the fact that you can take a plasma command squad and then an officer, and you can just keep doing that. And it's not really much of a tax to take the officer because you wanted to take him anyway, to order the plasma guys around. I think if you were forced to take platoons of Scions as well in an Imperial Guard army, I think it would balance Scions as well. And the reason I think this is, imagine you have a platoon of Scions where you've got to take 2 regular squads, a command squad, and an officer. And you imagine you now have to pay for the rod of command. Okay, imagine it's 5 or 10 points. Not a huge investment, but 5 or 10 points. Now, what that basically means is, to get your deep striking plasma command squad, you've also been forced to take 10 regular Scions. At least. And that means even if you pay or get the rod of command, it means your order efficiency is again watered down, because you have 3 units but you have only 1 officer, which means the maximum of orders you can issue is 2, which means you're always going to have 1 squad which isn't receiving orders. And that helps to balance things out, and it helps to again increase the cost of taking certain squads, because I've seen a lot of people talking about increasing the cost of plasma weapons and special weapons in general for Scions. I'm not entirely against it, although I am a bit against it, because Scions, I wouldn't be against a 1 to 2 point increase. I'm okay with that. I don't want to see 20-point plasma guns. But the reason why I think it's better to have platoons is because it balances a unit without having to change how the way it works. It means you are being forced to pay more for a unit, but you're not being punished for taking that unit, for wanting to take that unit. That's why I think Imperial Guard struggled so much in 7th edition and 6th edition, is because we were a balanced codex. We were a balanced army. I've always maintained this. And the balance came from the fact that we were forced to take certain things, but we weren't punished for taking those things. But we still had to pay for them. And I think that would work really well, again, for balancing both conscripts and balancing Scions. So just to go over it one more time, summarise. I know you guys are probably sick of me repeating myself now, but it's just something that I feel is a really, really elegant solution. Platoons bring back the flavour of the Imperial Guard. They balance the difference between taking a junior officer and a senior officer. They force unit variety, and when it comes to Scions especially, it means that it waters down the orders, so you can't give every Scion squad lots of plasma, lots of rerolls. You've got to be a bit more careful, and a bit more, I think, a bit cleverer with what weapon options you're going to take on them. Anyway, guys, tell me what you guys think. I want to see lots and lots of comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you've got any ideas of your own of how to balance conscripts, please leave a comment. And of course, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.